think about this. Are your systems, just said about mine, are your systems in your office secure to the point that nobody working for you and nobody outside your company can take information out of your computer and take it home? Yeah. How many of you have DVD drives in your... Show hands if you wish. How many have thumb drive slots? How many of you have social media connections into the web? You are not secure. Anything could be walking out the door. On a government project, this is even worse because we do not want to see lots of information going home to be worked on. And who knows who gets hold of that? We do move towards homeland security. And even more stupidly, some of the things that people are suddenly beginning to realise. All these wonderful visualizations that people have been producing, either for their next job, their interview visualization, that I can do, but also the company who stands out there and says, what's that magazine that wants to have this visualization? Can we get our company's name right up there? Look at this visualization. They suddenly realise, if you have a look at some of the station models of prospects, that have been put on the front of magazines which you can take off any bookstand, how much information is in there if you really look at it? Should we be sharing that information with anybody? So there is a document looking at what is it we should do, particularly on government projects. But it should also be you looking inwardly at how secure is your company information. We also have a number of other things that are yet to be done. NBS, National Building Specification, RIBA-E, whatever you want to call them, have a contract from the government now to complete what is now going to be called Uni-Class 3, yeah, which is the classification of things. I'll come on to that again in a moment. There's a lot to get through, I'm going to whip through it. The digital plan of work, which is what do you have to deliver at each stage. Think RIBA plan of work for the moment, but the digital plan of work can be defined by any particular industry. So if the rail industry wants something other than the 7, 8 p.m. CIC stages, then they can say, well, we've only got 4. What they have to specify is what they want to be delivered at that stage as a graphical representation on what information do they need to answer their business questions, certainly in the early stages. They must also define what they want you to deliver. What are their requirements? They must state what their requirements are. That will most likely go in the COBE file, and this EIR, the Employer's Information Requirement, should contain possibly a COBE file saying, this is everything I want you to deliver. While we're on that subject, I get really rocked around a lot, and I do get a little bit tired of asking it, is what is the difference between an employer and a client? If you go out to ask somebody to do something, a dentist, or whatever, you will be the employer laying down some requirements for some work you want that person to do. This is what I want you to do. Clean up my teeth. Get my house in order. Get my documents all in order. Once he accepts the contract, you become his client. Think about that. EIR is the one that the lawyers have settled on. EIR is the documentation. It is about the employer. And anybody wants to start discussing clients, there's your answer. There is also another document. Sorry, I'm going to have to rattle through these in a minute. Is soft landings. This is the requirement for the first tier design team and the first tier contractor to be in the post-occupancy evaluation to make sure that the building actually performs as was defined in the brief at stage 1 or even stage 0. So we can no longer walk away from it. We need to be there to assist the client in making sure that the building does perform, and if it doesn't, find out why and change it, snag it, whatever term you like to use. If it cannot be snagged down, then you need to understand why and keep that as a record to make sure that the next time the EIR comes around for another building, don't do that again. And the last of these are a series of templates, all available on the website, by the way, the task group website, free of charge. The CPIC templates, does everybody know who CPIC is? The Construction Project Information Committee. Okay, which is, we'll see whether it goes forward now, was actually set up by all of the institutions, all of your institutions, to help provide information about production information. They've done a really good job over the years. Unfortunately, they've reached the point now where they may not continue, another team is going to take over. But they produce a series of templates looking at the BEP, you all know what a BEP is, the BIM execution plan. We're trying to get rid of the B, perhaps next time around it will be PEP, the project execution plan, who knows. It gives you the IT assessment forms, how do you work out what the different technologies are that you're going to use on the project and how can you bring them together. And there is a people assessment or even a BIM assessment, whatever BIM may mean. BIM at the moment, there is another document up there called the Learning Outcomes Framework, which will be published at the end of this month, which tells you exactly what you must know as an outcome, and therefore you need to find out what the input was for you to have those outcomes, what learning, what knowledge you need to have, and how you're going to acquire it through education. And that will be through a number of agencies, whether it be through the universities, a number of universities doing this with their BIM courses, whatever, the RE, Lloyd's Register, etc. They are beginning to grow at the moment. So what do these documents look like? Very quickly, BS 1192, I said it's the collaborative production of information. It looks like that, literally, white cover with some black writing on it. It is, unfortunately, like all British standards, quite slim. And it takes a bit of time to wade through it, although it's quite slim, because it is ambiguous, as all good documents produced in this industry are, as we said at the beginning. So what we're doing is producing user guides to make sure that people understand this. And the user guides are anything up to 2 to 3 times, 4 times thicker than the essence. And there will be a number of guides coming out next year. So that tells you how to do the thing properly. It really does spell it out in plain language. Right. Very simple thing with BS 1192. Interesting. Is this simple idea of an information flow, which is work in progress in the top right hand corner. This is you independently, disciplines, vertical silo, discipline specific activities producing your work. The first thing you must do under BS 1192 before you share it with anybody, and that includes share it with anybody in your office, is to check, review and approve it. Because if you don't check, review and approve it, and it's wrong, and you share it, even with people in your own office, they're going to produce information that is also wrong. So think about this. If you do that before you share it within your own office, you're going to save yourself a lot of time and money. Terminal 5, one person took a model out of the database, took it home, altered it on his own software at home, picking up the security problem here, brought it back in on Monday morning, managed to get it back up on the system. Nobody checked it, reviewed it or signed it off. Everybody used it as a background and overlay with their work, and we had 6,000 pieces of information that we had to find, take out of the system and remodel and redraft. As I said, technology being as smart as it is, always gets to us. So you check, review and issue it, and you get rid of these problems, and you put it in the shared area. This is just an area where those documents are locked, and you can reference them into your work areas to use as background to load them out. You cannot change other people's information. Responsibility for delivery of information is laid out in the responsibility matrix at the beginning of this process, and only the author can change that information. If you draw a horizontal line below those two boxes, this is non-contractual. You can work together collaboratively, no finger pointing, no shouting at one another, having a conversation, moving information about, and coming up with an answer. And that is what PAS 1192, the management process, is really saying. The first tier designer and the first tier contractor will appoint the team to produce all the answers that the client wants as a collaborative activity. So everybody is involved in producing the answer. At some time in doing that, you will reach a stage, a milestone, and you will need to deliver information which you will hand over to the client, who will check it and authorise it if it answers all these questions, and it can then be published as a contractual document for stage completion or for some other purpose to go to employ other people. The archive keeps a record and an audit trail of every transaction in the project. Somebody changed my information. No, they didn't. We can go and find out who accessed it and whether anything was taken out. In fact, you can't, because if you put your CD together properly, it's all locked down. Somebody has stolen all of my object library. Spent a fortune doing that. Somebody's walked away with it. No, they can't. We have an audit trail, but we also have a license agreement in the BIM protocol to make sure that doesn't happen. We have set up so that everybody is secure and still own their original information. The other thing that you can do using BS 1192 is to actually specify what information must and can be used for. And it can be used for no other purpose. And that is called a status code or suitability code. So S1, wherever it is, suitability, S1. S1 just means this information is suitable for spatial coordination. That's all you can use it for. You cannot go out and build it. It is not a contractual document. Anything that's got an S on it is non-contractual. It has not been authorised by the client or by the contractor to build, or by anybody else. So the S alone tells you that that is so. If that doesn't help you enough, then the P, preliminary, which you do on your drawing, preliminary drawing, whatever, also states that you cannot use this for anything. And just in case that doesn't work, if the status code says S0, which is when you're in work in progress, if that appears on a document or on a data file anywhere, it means you cannot use it for anything. So a lot of these codes have been put in place to be selected by the author of information to make sure that people only use the information for the purpose that it is being shared. Security of information. PAS 1192 Mark II, specification for the information management for the capital delivery phase, is centred around a single document. It's a publicly available specification. Just quickly on that, a BS is usually a normative process, or a normative document. You have been doing it for at least a year. We've now written it down. Everybody agrees it works, and we publish it as a code of practice. A PAS is a specification. It's an idea. We know it works, but we've got to put it out there and test it for at least 12 months, and then we rewrite it as a BS. So that's all the PAS means. Publicly available specification. Builds on BS 1192 to essentially not replace it. It's a framework document for BIM Level 2. It does state all these other documents. It is not a BIM standard. It is a management standard. Applicable to all types of projects, applicable to all types of procurement, applicable to all types of asset, and is technology agnostic. We don't care what technology you use. We have tested it on the majors, and most of the stuff, it works. And this is the diagram that really harnesses, in the green bit in the middle, that green wedge, is BS 1192-2007, these 4 boxes, how you actually work together to produce information and then publish it. So you're working at each of those stages. You've been asked a number of questions in the EIR, up the top there, the employer's information requirement. You have carried out some work, and you are answering his question that he's asked you to answer. It could be a very simple question, a plain language question. It could be that the question says, I want a supermarket in the Outer Hebrides. I want 1 million footfalls between 11 and 12 o'clock on a Saturday morning. Should I build it? The answer is obviously no. So his second EIR, maybe he procures somebody and says, well, go and find out where I should build it. These are my organisational requirements. You tell me where I should build it. Okay. That is the employer writing a specification for employing somebody to do some work for them. And will ask questions that you want answered. If you do not or cannot answer those questions, then the employer will not go forward to the next stage. So these red diamonds on this diagram are the points at which the client makes decisions on whether he continues with the project or he dumps it and starts up something else somewhere else. Blue line says, I want something, I want to procure somebody to do it, I want you to tell me, so we're on a level playing field, you, I want you to produce an execution plan that tells me how you're going to answer the questions that I've asked and how you're going to deliver the information I've asked for in my EIR. And you must tell me whether you have the right levels of competent and capable staff to actually carry out that work. That's where your first tier assembles a team to answer those questions. So you assemble a team with the capability and competence to answer those questions that the employer has asked for. So this is your selection process. And you will state in the BEP what sort of team you've got, what sort of people you've got to work on it, and what is their level of capability and competence. So the client now has your BEP, and your BEP, and he can put those side by side because there is a common template to answer, and make a decision on who would be the best person to employ to carry out this task. We'll then award the contract. Post award, you will finalise the BEP, say yes, we can do that, yes, we do have these people. We didn't have all of them, but this is where we're going to find them from. And if we can't find them, this is how we're going to educate them and upskill them. And I'm now going to tell you how long it's going to take me to deliver it. So the MIDP is the Master Information Delivery Plan. Who is going to deliver what, at what stage, and on what time? And then the team is mobilised to start answering the questions. As I said, it may be that the questions aren't all answered, which is why we have this discontinued blue line. It could be a solid blue line. If it's a serial client, I've got a railway, I know what I'm doing, I know what questions I'm asking, I can go out there and start procuring the team in one go. If not, we may procure the team bit by bit to answer questions for them. Once we have a fixed price, the contractor comes on board, then we don't talk, we don't ask any more questions until we hand it over and back the information into OPEX for the asset information model and the in-use phase of the work. In this phase, we are still maintaining the information. Every change that's made, a small project perhaps, a bit of maintenance, I took that out and I replaced it with this, it must be recorded. The 3D model, if you've actually moved the position of things, must record where they are, otherwise your Google Glasses and your iPads won't be able to find it in the future. You must maintain this information. One of the biggest problems in the underground is there are thousands of people per night working down the tunnels, either cleaning, moving or repairing things. And they don't record what they've done necessarily, except for a piece of paper which goes in a box which sits in an office. Who can find it after that? Who knows? There is a problem in maintaining these records. We are looking, the government is looking, to keep that information fresh and up to date at every stage. There are a series of roles. I wanted to talk about this particularly because a role, when you read these documents, is not a new title. It is not a new person in your office. You have the people that can do this. You just have to find the ones that have the capability and competence to do it and make them responsible for carrying out a particular task. I'll also point out that there is an error in the document. It says coordination manager. The title is actually, or the role is actually project delivery manager. This is not somebody new. It's got a slightly different way of calling that person. It is the design coordinator. It is the production information coordinator from a time point of view. They're already there. Project managers are there. Construction managers are there. These people are already there. They just need to be upskilled to take on this new role. When you start generating information, in this process you generate information very quickly indeed. And if you are not managing it, you will lose it very quickly. And everybody will revert back to what they did before. Drawing this. So the management process is of great essence in this. The other one is the project information management role, which is the managements and not managers. And the whoever is assigned to do the project information management role also is the person that provides what is known as the common data environment this piece of software, this process, this methodology that manages those 4 boxes and all of the document information around it. A task team is just another way of calling an architectural office, a structural engineer's office, an M, an E, a P, a specialist designer, blah, 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 blah. We got fed up saying all those things, so we just decided to call them nominally task teams. And they have something, a problem to solve. Those task teams are made up of a lead designer, let's say, take that. BIM author is being taken out, it is information author, because when we published this, everybody went, oh, so it's just the person that produces the 3D model. No. It's everybody that authors information, not just the 5 to 8%, the rest of it, the other 90%. Information authors. And we have an information manager in the task team, whose role is basically to make sure that all the information that was asked for is actually delivered, and also has the responsibility to make sure that his boss, difficult job this one, make sure that the task team manager has checked and signed off the technical content of the information. There is a CAD check and there is a technical content check against each stage to be signed off. So, his roles are in there. PAS 1192 Part 3, specification for information management for the operational phase. Jokingly, it's taken us all this time to get down to PAS 1192 Part 3 to find out what information should have been in the EIR in the first place. The EIR on the group task group website just talks about the standards, the methodologies, etc. you use, PAS 1192. It doesn't actually tell you what the information requirements are unless it's in the coding file. So just to turn this thing upside down for a moment, because the document came the wrong way around, we need, sorry about that, organisational information requirements. What do you want to know, and what information do I want you to deliver to tell me how I'm going to run this facility at the end of the day? Asset information requirements. What information do I need to maintain this asset? Yeah. And all of that should be rolled up along with the project information requirements. What is it you, designers and contractors, what information are you going to have to generate that you would normally have to hand over to the client anyway, CDMs, whatever. Yeah. All of those should then be articulated in the extended employer's information requirement and answered in the bill. So it's how much are you producing and what other things you may need to produce information for. One interesting thing that came up here is in the asset information, there may be a problem, because if the client comes up and says, I want you to build for me and to produce and provide the most innovative, advanced technological hospital ever built in the world, and I need you to tell me what asset information I require. So the EIR may put a responsibility on you to answer a question because the client doesn't know how to answer it, because this is something new and innovative. So this is, once again, is a collaborative activity with everybody, including the client. And when we deliver at the end of the day, we wrap all of that information up into called the project information model. As I said, it's the 3D model, the data, drawings, visualizations, videos, whatever. And that is then transferred and checked and transferred into the asset information model. Just a little hint, here's the information coming down from the common data environment out of CapEx into OpEx. We still have those 4 squares. This method of managing and updating data is still there and can be used. But we also have other data coming in from another source, and that is looking at the standing asset, where people are having to measure things. What have I actually got out there? I'm going to survey it. I'm going to do a tap and trace. What equipment do I need? Etc., etc. And they will also build data models into the AIM. So in a serial client like the government, the client, he's got loads of stuff out there he doesn't even know he's got. And he's starting to go out there and survey it to find out what his actual asset is. Okay. I was very naughty in not getting here on time. We have a few people who walked out. Are you all okay for the moment? I can whip through quickly and get you out of here if you need a drink, or carry on. I'd like you to ask some questions. Indeed, including me. Okay, I could go through this and do these things in detail, but what I'd like to do is just throw it back to you. Are there any questions on what I've already said, or other questions that you may have heard out there in the general buzz of what people are doing, but maybe misinformation that I can actually answer for you?
Robert Monroe here. At the top, the MBS can be linked to it, can it? When you specify, you can specify. You can link the MBS to the model.
Interesting question. Okay. What we are trying to do is to separate graphical information from data. So what we don't want to do, what a lot of vendors tell us to do, is to put everything in the model. All information. You can imagine how much information that is that your CAD operator is now going to have control of, because he's the only person that can access this 3D model. It's a very dangerous thing. You need this information to be able to be accessed by lots of different people. So something coming out of MBS like Create, or perhaps coming out of NRM, costs are linked to the objects, linked to the models, rather than embedded in them. So you manage the two bits separate. But you must maintain the link between the graphical representation, if indeed there is one, and the data associated with it.
That brings me on to a question then really about your Uniclass and NBS, which is the building specification, but I'm thinking more about coordinated project information, which I made my students sweat over many a time. Where has it gone?
Indeed. Well, I think we're going to find it coming down, because this is only part one of the government funding exercise. And what they've done at the moment is gone for a quick kill. I'm quite happy to state that and tell anyone who like what I said. We will now get a discussion starting to happen within the industry, because some of the things I've seen that they've put up there, the Uniclass saying it satisfies all construction processes, it doesn't. And so we now can start a conversation and we can have some input. So the thing to do is to go to the BIM Task Group website, onto the lab site. There is a thing called the labs area, and register yourself there and make any comment that you wish, and any suggestions and any knowledge you have, put it there, because they really want to know all about this. I believe it will come back. It has to. We cannot leave it on the floor.
Concept of information management has been existed in principles and processes of project and construction management. Now it seems that the managers, especially project managers, are struggling between performing the BIM and the traditional processes in project management and construction management. What do you think that the relationship between these two, how would it be? Because now it seems that information management has overcome the whole processes and principles of project management.
What you've done is you've certainly put people on titles in place. What we want is to take the people that are already there, already have a skill base, project managers, construction managers, and upskill them to understand more about this. And so at some of the universities, I'm not sure what's happening here, the BIM modules that are being taught are part of those other activities. An architect, an engineer, project manager, construction manager, etc. Because these are not processes and responsibilities for new titles. This is about upskilling, reskilling, whatever the industry, to understand where we're going in this digital construction world. So we're not trying to get rid of anybody. We want to use that background skill and knowledge, but make sure they understand this and don't get left behind. Project managers know how to look after the time bit there. Information managers, they're already there. Every designer knows what he's supposed to deliver. Every contractor, by taking on board, subcontracting to the installers of all the equipment, they know what information they want back from them. We've always collected that information. The problem is, we've never managed it. It's usually been a load of paper and cardboard boxes thrown into a steel container, welded up and left on the corner of some farmer's site, in the hope that the client will never ever ask for the information. We've now got to make that freely available and mineable for lots of reasons.
Got another question. Who's going to pay for all of this? Because consultants are going to spend less time doing this, costs are going down, so there's going to be less money, full stop. If I'm a consultant, I'm paid on fees, I'm going to be paid on overruns, variations, that sort of thing. So what you're suggesting is that I do more work up front for the same amount of money and then don't get paid the same at the end.
No, I'm not suggesting that at all.
So,
and in fact, in none of this discussion and none of the documentation have we ever said that this is about 25% reduction in the fee.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the outcome is that the costs go down, and if I have a fee, my fee then goes down.
If you are absolutely right,
Yeah.
I understand what you meant now. If your fee is associated with the cost of the building as a percentage,
Yeah.
then this is wrong. Because that the incentive then for you as a designer is to make that building as expensive as possible that the client will accept.
Absolutely.
That's not where we're going. Isn't it? Seriously. If that is that what your contract is saying? What we're saying is some sort of equitable arrangement here is I want you to produce a building with good quality information so that we reduce this capital cost. Your fee is only a couple of percent of the whole thing, so if you can do a really good job, could you be worth more money?
That's what client-led. If clients are willing to put the money in front, because basically this runs on a design, bid, build.
Yeah.
If you design it properly, then you will control the costs. But if they don't pay properly for design in the first place and consultants, then this is where you get into poorly designed work and costs going up.
Absolutely. In all the research work we did and the measurements we took, the designer, particularly the architect, whilst they wouldn't quote what the reduction in the cost was of producing it, did actually make the statements that they used 25% less resource in the iterative process to deliver it. So make what you will of that measurement. But they some things, 3D Reed, Neil Sterling actually, if you ask him, he makes that quote. So there is money to be made. The contractor, on all the projects we've done, has always increased his margin. So less risk. So his margins increase. Cost savings, 100%. It's not from 2 to 4%, but better than it was before.
Yeah.
So we can see that. We can see the client, and that's what the government wants. Client is a reduction in the delivery of the capital product in the project in the first place. Things will have to change because it's not just the designer that plays the percentage game. The way that most contractors make a profit, how many contractors is by actually using the errors and the ambiguity in the data set to claim additional payments.
Heavens above, no.
I was a contractor for 40 odd years, so I understand. So we have to change the industry in a lot of different ways.
I think we can take another couple more questions, then after that we need some more stuff.
Please.
Hi. You made reference to the employer's information requirements, which in effect will become part of the employer's requirements. So if you were to adopt this methodology, does that not take a fresh approach to the appointments of the whole team before the start of the project, and a change to the approach to how you can appoint the contractor?
No, the way in which this is done, okay, let's break down what you're saying. The EI is there, we've always had it. Yeah. All we've added now is the client has now said, don't get, I want the information. So here is my ER, I've always done on this bit here. There is a slightly different approach, perhaps, and it's not what we're driving towards, in the employment of the team. Not just the contractor, but how the design teams are being appointed as well. The contracts at the moment is assumed to be one tier. So there are not multiple contracts through into the supply chain from the employer itself. Okay. There is a situation now when you get the EIR, when let's say the contractor is assembling his team, then I think, and it is already happening, we're doing those scans for this, that they're looking very carefully at the team that they are appointing themselves and the sorts of contracts they have with their subcontractors. So in this, the government has climbed and said, well, hang on a minute, I don't want to get involved in that. I'll hire the contractor, and the contractor then takes the responsibility further down. At the moment, there does not seem to be, and we've been through it with the lawyers, any change to the current appointments. But I think as time goes on, and I'm silly not to accept this, that there may be some changes that need to be made, but they're not real at the moment. We really need to understand exactly what those new appointments or those new structures in those projects need to be. At the moment, there's so many people saying, oh, you want me to do this, can you pay me 30% more? What for? Because using this methodology, we know it costs you less. We know it de-risks you. You have less RFIs. So I believe there will be a change at some time in that contractual requirement. Might not be for your betterment as a contractor, but there will be a change. Sorry, you were taking. Thank you for the question. Anybody else? Anything at all? I'm standing here with my shirt out. Okay.
That's very kind of concern. The government driver for improve efficiencies and cost efficiency. Do you think that this does not include improvements to the built environment? It doesn't lead to creation of better architecture? And that focus is more likely to lead to rather dull, mass-produced hospitals, schools, and everything else.
We haven't been doing this.
Okay.
That is not the intent, but I think it's part of what worries me is washing out of this. Because I was actually there as one of the designers that created Roman Wayne and all of the stuff we did in the 1960s. And what I don't want to see is a rush out of prefabricated brick. And that's why with level 3, once we've got people to manage the process better, then level 3, I think we would have different types of technologies that will allow us to be more creative and able to feed us information and very quickly to make design decisions, which are also much greater value with architectural theory. But don't forget, this is also, you have to look at the government's concern here, it's about infrastructure. There was the infrastructure strategy recently where they looked about what we need in roads and highways and utilities and everything is absolutely enormous. And if the population keeps going away, we've got to find some way of producing that. That is an industrialised process. So I think we need to be careful of the architectural process against the industrial process that we make. One of the interesting things that is occurring out there, whilst we're trying to make the client more knowledgeable, is that the contractor has suddenly woken up. Because the contractor, as a developer, Skanska Special Project, Vinci Special Project, Langer O'Rourke, Costains, etc., they all build. Skanska, for instance, is St Helens and Vinci was St Helens and Knowsley Hospital. Skanska is Barts in London, which they're going to operate for 35 years. They've suddenly woken up to the fact that, hang on a minute, is my contractor, the contracting part of my company, doing a good job? I better go and make sure they're using these processes. I want better information, because I'm going to have to manage this for another 35 years, and I want my profit margins in use, in the cost of carbon, in the carbon, in the claim to be better. So yes, there is a fear, we have it, that prefabricated brick again, when we go there. But we should use these technologies more effectively to overcome certainly the ambiguity in the data. That doesn't affect the design, but it does make better quality information, as the RIBA statement there was. If the information isn't any good, then the design is so I think these things have to go in hand. There's always going to be adjustment.
Yeah, and I think we've come to the end of the evening. We'd like to thank you, Mark, for the presentation. It's been thoroughly